What if I told you 12 of the most elite agents on Earth vanished into the shadows, and only one came back? No gunfire, no explosions, no trace, just silence, and a survivor too shaken to speak. This isn't a movie. It isn't fiction. This is real, and it's more terrifying than anything you've imagined. Today, you're going to step inside a world most will never see. A world where loyalty is tested in the dark, where enemies wear the face of friends, and where even the bravest can disappear without a sound. So, if you think you know how global power really works, watch closely, because by the time this speech ends, you'll never look at intelligence, alliances, or truth the same way again. Stay with me to the end. This is a story they never wanted you to hear. An operation conducted under the highest level of secrecy, shielded from the public eye, media, and even some branches of government. When Israel dispatched 12 elite agents to India, it wasn't for a diplomatic mission or a public intelligence exchange. It was for something far more covert. These weren't regular field agents. These were individuals trained in deep cover espionage, cyber intelligence, and psychological warfare. Their very deployment indicated that what they were sent to uncover or eliminate was of immense national security importance. India's geographic and political complexity made it a critical location for such an operation, sandwiched between rival powers and housing some of the world's most advanced and clandestine nuclear and surveillance hubs. India is often both ally and enigma to global intelligence networks. These Israeli agents were likely tasked with neutralizing or tracking a threat that had regional consequences. Perhaps an illicit nuclear deal, a rogue intelligence network, or an individual tied to a larger terror web. The nature of their selection and training suggests that the operation was rooted in precision, stealth, and the kind of intelligence that never appears in headlines. This level of secrecy meant even allied agencies in India may not have known of their presence. To maintain deniability and operational security, the mission would have been insulated from diplomatic protocols, run on encrypted, compartmentalized systems. In such missions, agents often operate in isolation, unaware even of each other's full roles, to reduce the risk of compromise. Every step, every conversation, every move is weighed, calculated, and recorded within internal systems that self-destruct if tampered with. However, the stakes were evidently higher than anticipated. For 11 agents to vanish simultaneously, something catastrophic or perfectly coordinated must have occurred. This raises the possibility of a compromised mission, advanced surveillance countermeasures, or even a betrayal from within. The agents could have walked into a trap laid by hostile forces who were waiting, perhaps tipped off by a mole or a leak. In such black operations, the margin for error is zero. One wrong assumption, one overlooked signal, and an entire mission can vanish, just like the agents did. The silence surrounding the operation isn't just procedural, it's strategic, meant to prevent panic, retaliation, or exposure of other hidden agendas operating in the shadows. India, as a rising superpower, holds a unique and complex position in the global intelligence landscape. For a country like Israel, which depends heavily on precision intelligence and geopolitical foresight, India is not merely an ally. It is a key strategic partner, layered with opportunity and risk. India's geographical location, nestled between major global flashpoints like China, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and the Indian Ocean, makes it a prime intersection for both legal and illegal intelligence traffic. Its long-standing border tensions, history of internal insurgencies, and proximity to nuclear-armed rivals make the country a critical observation point for any intelligence operation with regional or international implications. At the same time, India maintains a balanced and fiercely independent foreign policy, working closely with Israel, the United States, Russia, and Iran all at once. This delicate diplomatic dance adds layers of complexity to any foreign operation conducted on Indian soil. Intelligence sharing between India and Israel does occur, but it's often highly selective and situational, depending on the nature of the threat and mutual benefits. When Israel chose to send agents into India without high-profile visibility, it signaled either an operation so sensitive it couldn't risk exposure, or one not sanctioned by Indian authorities at the highest level. Both possibilities are dangerous. India is also home to rapidly expanding technology sectors and cyber surveillance capabilities. Any foreign agent operating within its borders must contend with one of the most sophisticated digital and physical monitoring environments in the world. Additionally, its diverse population and vast geography create ideal cover for both legitimate surveillance and illegal underground networks, making India a playground for competing global agencies, including adversarial ones. This means Israeli operatives were not just operating in a friendly nation. They were navigating a high-risk zone saturated with foreign surveillance, local intelligence officers, and potentially hostile third-party elements. Moreover, India's internal politics, religious tensions, and complex intelligence bureaucracy create pockets of vulnerability. These gaps can be exploited by enemies, or worse, result in misidentification or accidental exposure. In such an environment, even the most seasoned agents could find themselves isolated, betrayed, or trapped. It's also possible that rival foreign agencies were monitoring Israeli movements from the moment they entered Indian airspace, suggesting the mission may have been compromised before it even began. The choice of India as the mission ground underscores both the importance and volatility of the operation. The sudden and complete silence of the 11 Israeli agents sent to India is perhaps the most chilling element of the entire operation. In the world of intelligence, silence is never taken lightly. There are protocols, layers of communication channels, and backup systems designed specifically to prevent total blackout. Agents in the field are expected to check in regularly through secure lines, using code phrases or encrypted signals, even when operating under deep cover. The fact that 11 out of 12 agents stopped all forms of communication simultaneously suggests something far more serious than mere technical failure or accidental disruption. No distress signal was sent, no emergency beacon triggered, and no coded warning transmitted. For trained intelligence operatives, this kind of silence is unnatural. It typically means one of three things: total capture, coordinated elimination, or strategic containment so advanced that no signal could escape. The possibility of simultaneous neutralization, whether through lethal force or forced detention, indicates a well-planned counter-operation that may have anticipated Israel's mission. It raises the question of whether the agents were watched from the moment they entered India, tracked through covert surveillance, or even lured into a trap by false intelligence. The absence of bodies, digital footprints, or intercepted communications intensifies the mystery. Intelligence communities around the world rely on patterns, electronic signals, travel records, surveillance images, and informants. But in this case, the vanishing was so clean that even advanced tracking systems seem to have found nothing. It's almost as if the agents were swallowed whole by a ghost network operating parallel to official systems. Something so hidden, so meticulous, that even allied intelligence groups have been left in the dark. This sudden silence also sends shockwaves through intelligence circles because it suggests the presence of a force or operation capable of not only tracking elite agents, but erasing them without noise. It undermines the very foundation of trust within intelligence partnerships. If 11 of Israel's finest could disappear without a trace in a partner nation, what does that say about the reach of enemy networks or the strength of local counterintelligence? The one remaining agent returning alone only deepens the enigma. Without a word spoken or a report filed, that silence becomes its own message, one of warning, one of danger, and one that leaves both operatives and nations haunted by what might have happened in the unseen corners of that mission. The return of the lone surviving Israeli agent from the mission in India raises more questions than it answers. In operations of this magnitude, survival often comes at a high cost, and the condition in which the agent returns can speak volumes. According to initial reports, the agent came back under heavy security, visibly shaken and noticeably silent. Not a single public statement was issued, no debrief leaked, and no clarifications provided by Israeli officials. The intelligence community refers to such behavior as containment protocol, which is only activated when the knowledge possessed by an individual is so sensitive that even allies cannot be trusted with it. What makes the situation more unnerving is the emotional and psychological state of the returning agent. Trained for resilience, mental endurance, and tactical clarity, operatives at this level do not typically return disoriented or afraid, unless they have seen or experienced something that defies all operational expectations. Silence in such a case isn't just about security. It may stem from trauma, manipulation, or exposure to information too volatile to disclose. Some intelligence insiders believe this agent may have been the target all along, or perhaps a witness to a betrayal that reaches into the very heart of Allied intelligence networks. Speculation also surrounds the agent's extraction. How he was able to return when his comrades did not remains a mystery. Did he escape a capture? Was he allowed to leave as part of a psychological message, or was he returned deliberately, carrying a warning or a threat cloaked within his silence? There's also a deeper fear within Israel's intelligence ranks that the agent may not have come back alone. In the world of espionage, it's not uncommon for returnees to be turned, manipulated, or embedded with tracking or surveillance tools that allowed enemy forces to monitor internal agency structures from within. The level of secrecy surrounding his return has only intensified the intrigue. He is reportedly kept under extreme isolation, with limited human contact, monitored around the clock. Every movement, every breath, every glance is evaluated by internal security. The psychological evaluation alone could take months, and even then, there is no guarantee he will ever speak. His silence isn't just personal, it's institutional. It represents the weight of secrets that could compromise operations across regions, or possibly expose the true purpose of the mission that led 11 of his fellow agents into a void from which they never return. The theory that the disappearance of the 11 Israeli agents was the result of a black ops trap has gained significant traction among intelligence analysts. A black operation, by definition, is covert and often illegal, typically orchestrated without the knowledge or approval of official government bodies. Such operations operate in shadows within shadows, and if this mission was intercepted, it would suggest the presence of a counter-network that was not only aware of the Israeli mission, but had anticipated it in detail. The precision and silence of the disappearance point to an adversary that was technologically advanced, deeply informed, and ruthlessly efficient. The possibility of rival intelligence agencies being involved cannot be ignored. Both state and non-state actors have sophisticated surveillance capabilities that can monitor, intercept, and neutralize elite agents. If the Israeli mission targeted a sensitive figure or operation within India or even in neighboring territories, those who were threatened may have acted preemptively. This opens the door to the possibility of a mole, someone embedded within or close to the planning stages of the Israeli operation who leaked critical data that allowed enemy forces to set the perfect trap. In intelligence work, the presence of a mole is not just a breach. It's an earthquake that shakes the very foundations of trust. Alternatively, the mission itself may have been compromised at a higher level, manipulated by disinformation to lure the agents into a kill zone or a surveillance honey trap. In such a case, the agents might have walked into a controlled environment, an isolated location, monitored with invisible technology, where they were silently detained, eliminated, or worse, flipped. The complete lack of physical evidence suggests the counter-impression was not only well-funded, but possibly supported by entities with diplomatic or military reach. Another unsettling theory is that the mission clashed with the interests of multiple powers, making it a multi-agency ambush. India, though often allied with Israel, also balances relationships with nations that may have found such an operation threatening. A coordinated warning from a third-party intelligence network or cooperation between rival factions could have resulted in a trap that no single agency could orchestrate alone. This event could mark the evolution of a new form of hybrid intelligence warfare, where alliances shift silently, enemies watch from within, and information is deadlier than bullets. In that arena, one wrong step can mean erasure. And that may be exactly what happened to the 11 The mysterious disappearance of 11 Israeli agents in India has sent shockwaves through the global intelligence community, deeply impacting the fragile web of alliances and trust that hold it together. Intelligence sharing between nations relies not just on mutual benefit, but on absolute discretion, confidentiality, and operational transparency at the highest levels. When one of the most advanced intelligence services in the world loses nearly an entire team without a trace in a country considered an ally, it sparks questions far beyond the mission itself. It challenges the very framework of modern espionage cooperation, where silence, betrayal, and blurred lines between friend and foe are always lurking beneath the surface. Israel and India have long shared strategic intelligence ties, especially in matters concerning counterterrorism and cyber warfare. Yet an incident of this magnitude unfolding on Indian soil calls into question the strength, depth, and honesty of that partnership. Was India aware of the mission? If so, did something go wrong operationally? If not, then how is it possible that such a massive black operation could be executed in a tightly monitored region without Indian detection? These unanswered questions cast a long shadow over diplomatic rooms and classified briefings in both nations. Furthermore, the repercussions extend beyond Israel and India. Other nations involved in covert collaborations with either country will now reevaluate their commitments. Shared operations, intelligence pooling, and data exchange efforts may stall or be scaled back. Trust is the lifeblood of intelligence work, and even the perception of a leak, betrayal, or strategic failure can fracture relationships that took decades to build. Allied agencies, particularly from Western and Middle Eastern blocs, will scrutinize this incident to determine if it signals broader vulnerabilities. Rival states, on the other hand, will exploit the situation. The vacuum created by mistrust allows adversarial powers, whether it be state actors or non-state networks, to grow bolder. The message it sends is chilling. Even the most elite can vanish without warning. And even alliances built on years of cooperation can fail in moments of silence. This incident may lead to increased paranoia, internal purges, tighter surveillance within agencies, and a reluctance to commit to joint mission. The lines between ally and enemy have never been thinner in the world of intelligence. Once that line blurs, it rarely becomes clear again. What began as a silent mission in the shadows has now become a thunderous reminder to the world that in the realm of intelligence, there are no guarantees, no safe havens, and no permanent allies. The disappearance of 11 elite agents isn't just a tactical failure. It's a rupture in the unseen world where nations gamble with secrets more valuable than gold and deadlier than war. The lone survivor's silence echoes louder than any explosion. It warns us that the rules are changing, the enemies are evolving, and the battlefield is no longer marked by borders, but by deception, loyalty, and fear. This isn't just about Israel or India. It's about every nation that plays in the dark while pretending to live in the light. In the aftermath of silence, we are left with questions no one dares to answer and truths too dangerous to be spoken. But remember this, every shadow holds a lesson, and every silence holds a story. And one day, that story will come to light. Thank you for taking this journey through the layers of truth, loyalty, and mystery with us. Your curiosity and hunger for deeper understanding fuel the voice behind stories that must be told. Stay vigilant, stay aware, and never stop asking the questions others fear to raise. Good luck on your path, and may the truth always find you.